have people that will go, I stayed in this haunted hotel or I stayed in this abandoned hospital. You're just asking for a death wish at this point. I watch enough horror movies to know better. If they be like, oh, we're going to this cabin in the middle of the woods, how many other cabins are near it? None? Never mind. Like I need at least 3. I need 3 other houses to be nearby. My name is Meka G. I am the host and creator of the Cinematic Nightmares podcast. I am originally from Jacksonville, Florida, but I am currently living in North Carolina. I started Cinematic Nightmares October the 1st, 2023. I started it because I've always genuinely had a love for horror movies. I was on 3 other podcasts and I was like, I really want to step out and I want to do my own thing. I started Cinematic Nightmares on Instagram, and it started with 31 Days of Horror. And it was 31 days of Black people who have survived in horror movies. People just did not believe that I could find 31 people, and I found 31 people. From there, it just elevated to top 5s and more 31 Days of Horror. And then finally, I want to say it was March of this year, I went ahead and took a leap of faith and started a YouTube channel. I started out on Blue's House Live, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. live show. Blue and I talk about pop culture. We talk about everything that's going on in pop culture news and things like that. He's a big Marvel fan, so he talks a lot of comic book things. I started out on Popcorn in Your Beer just showing up for their game nights, and I kept winning. And then they eventually invited me to become a part of the show. So I was a guest at first, and I guess because of my movie knowledge and just how pretty I am, they asked me to be a permanent member on the show, and I became the first lady of Popcorn in Your Beard. And yes, I know I don't have a beard. Just roll with it. And then from there, I have a friend. His name is Dre Mac. He hosts the Dre Mac channel, the Dre Mac show. He asked me and Blue if we would form a coalition of blurreds, and we call ourselves the Blurred AF Experience. So the 3 of us go live every Monday. We talk about everything because I am the horror guru. We do talk about horror movies, but Blue and Dre are more comic book nerds, and I hate to use the word nerds, but that's just how it flows out. They're more of the comic book side, and they talk more of that, but it's a fun time. And Popcorn Your Beard is also every Sunday and Tuesday. I'm the person that reads the trivia on IMDb. I learn stuff about movies. And so when it comes to doing trivia with other podcasts, like I'm on it. And if you do anything horror, I'm going to kill you. Not literally, but that led me into hosting game nights for Popcorn in Your Beard. And that crossed over into Cinematic Nightmares and me hosting game nights on there as well too. I've done Jeopardy on there, and we just recently did Jaws game night. The Jaws game, I created like little individual floaties for everybody's faces to be sitting on. I have a game night coming up. It's Family Feud style, so I'm going to try to set up the background to where it's going to show the 4 people like almost like a Family Feud table that they're all going to be sitting behind, and then I'm going to be in the middle as the host. My philosophy is, when it comes to game night, is that we are here for a good time. I just want people to have fun, crack jokes, laugh. If somebody gets the answer wrong, crack a joke about it, like just have fun with it. And so I really enjoy being, number 1, I enjoy being a game show host, and 2, I enjoy trivia. I grew up watching The Price is Right. I watched a lot of Jeopardy. I definitely watched Wheel of Fortune, Pressure Luck. I don't know if anybody remembers that one. For the longest time, I used to watch the Game Show Network and watch all the old school Family Feud, and rolling into the new Family Feud with Steve Harvey, which is so funny because the first time I did Family Feud, I dressed as Steve Harvey. I had a mustache and everything. It's so funny. But eventually I got hot and I had to snatch that wig cap off because it was just too hot. I've grown up watching these shows. And that's why I'm like, and when I'm thinking about what game I want to do next, I did to my past. I was trying to create a press your luck game for horror night. And I'm still trying to figure out how to get it to work. But once I get it, it's going to be a game night. I would have to say my favorite thing to do on Cinematic Nightmares is the top fives, because I get to show people the movies that I love or the characters that I love or my thoughts about this particular horror character or movie or whatever the case. Top fives are where I highlight my top five, movies, characters, whatever. I just finished one, top five tiny terrors. I broke down 5 kids in horror. If I know that there's a movie coming out, I will try to tailor my top fives to that movie. But most of the time it's just, let's talk about the top 5 characters that deserve to die, because we all have those people in horror movies where we're like, you know what, you can go. And then once a month I do the subgenre breakdowns. It's called Exploring the Shadows, where I break down a subgenre of horror and I talk about what makes it iconic and why we love it. In that video, I will also give some examples of that subgenre. I enjoy doing those too, because a lot of people don't understand that horror has so many subgenres. I also highlight indie filmmakers and people who are creating indie horror movies. A lot of the stuff that we see on Tubi, those are indie filmmakers that are just hoping that one day somebody will see their movie, giving them a space to come and talk about their movies and interview their cast, interview their crew. Tell us about the whole process. Tell us about, everything that you went through to get to the end of this movie. That's been fun too. I've done 3 of those. One was The Devil Came to Duval, which was a film director from Jacksonville, Florida. And I've actually been in one of his movies. Also, I interviewed the cast and the crew from the movie Cayman, which is a found footage movie. I watched that movie twice. I have this habit of I have to watch a movie 2 to 3 times before I can actually talk about it with people. Yeah, I love doing interviews. I love doing game nights. I love doing Exploring the Shadows, but if I have to choose anything, it's definitely top fives. I love the fact that these indie filmmakers are reaching out to me on Instagram and saying, hey, can you share my trailer on your page? Of course I can. Or if they've reached out to me and they're like, hey, could you make a video review about my movie? How about I do you one better? How about you come on my show and you tell people about your movie? Even though I do have a small following on YouTube, I have a larger following on Instagram and Threads. You're going to hit 2,000 plus people. That gets people talking about your film or wanting to go and see it. I'm probably like 5 or 6 years old, and my mom had a VHS tape. This VHS tape has 4 movies on it: Ghostbusters, A Soldier's Story, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Purple Rain. We're watching Purple Rain. It gets to the end. We watch it all the way through, and then the New Line Cinema logo pops up. Any other time, my mom would have came in and stopped the VHS tape because she didn't want us to watch whatever was on the rest of the 2 movies that was on there. But this particular day, it kept playing. And that's when I got introduced to horror. It was A Nightmare on Elm Street. And the weird thing about it is I didn't even have any nightmares after I watched it. This says a lot about me. Fast forward, I'm 8 years old. We're watching USA Up All Night. USA Up All Night had usually showed horror movies. That's when, I got introduced to like Critters, and, Return of the Living Dead. Only saw The Exorcist 2 and 3 on USA Up All Night. They wouldn't show The Exorcist because it was that terrifying. It crossed over into like TNT, watching Joe Bob Briggs, and then Sci-Fi Channel comes, and you're now you've got multiple places where you can watch horror movies. But it started with a VHS tape. I was little when this movie came out. First time seeing it was like USA Up All Night. We ain't had no business watching these horror movies as little kids, but 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? No, we don't. They didn't know where we were. was watching USA Up All Night. I love Killer Clowns from Outer Space because it doesn't take itself seriously. It is a true comedy horror. Also can get real dark at times, leans into the horror a lot, especially the one scene where the clown is outside the restaurant and the little girl's getting ready to come out and he has a mallet behind his behind his back. That would have ended very badly. I'm a sucker for cinematography. When it comes to the horror genre, if you can convince me that what I'm looking at is what I'm looking at, this house is creepy, the fog going all across it. Ryan Coogler, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't living in Mississippi watching Sinners. The beauty, and then the color changes and the color schemes and how everything flowed together. The difference between smoke and stack. The blue mint smoke was, the calm, cool, and collective one. Red mint stack was the fiery one. I love a good story, but I love good cinematography. If you can make me feel like I am a part of this movie, I'm a sucker for it. Alien, the Predator movie, the first one, when we're in the jungle, the way that they made the Predator kind of stand out, but not stand out. If you look really hard, you'd be like, oh, he's right there. Also just giving you the feeling that you're trapped in this jungle with them. You're fighting for your life. I think that's what any good horror, any horror movie that can make you feel like your life is also in danger too, but you're not even in the movie, is a great thing. In any movie that makes you want to yell at the screen and say, girl, get up and run. I love those kind of movies too. I try really hard in the movie theater not to be like, girl. I actually gravitate to psychological horror the most. Psycho, hide and seek, anything that has to deal with the psyche and the mind. I have a degree in psychology, so when I watch these movies, I'm like trying to pick out what their issue is. Oh, they suffer from personality disorder. Like the Babadook, which hit so hard on grief and motherhood and dealing with a child, knowing that psychologically she just could not handle, the grief and also being a mother at the same time. The reason why I don't like body horror is because of The Fly. I watched The Fly when I was a kid and was cool with it as a kid. Rewatched it as an adult and was eating a whole meal while watching it and was like, we're done here. I can't do this. Anything that has to deal with body horror, I can't stomach it. I did sit through The Substance though. I sat through it. I watched it. I sat through it. I stomached it. But will I watch it again? No. Fingernails, eyeball, teeth. I saw Bring Her Back. If I had known that it was going to be, if I knew it was going to have body horror, I probably would have watched it. Every scene that had to deal with body horror, I was just like, tell me when it's over. I think it's just because, it's just knowing that could really happen to you. The very first time I ever watched it, I absolutely was terrified by this movie prior to watching it because the trailer would always play on TV. Say his name 5 times. Say his name 5 times. I don't think I want to say his name 5 times. But I was so excited about seeing this movie. My dad would go to the VHS store to rent movies every Friday. And I told him every Friday, I was like, can you check and see if they got Candyman? This one Friday, he comes home with Candyman. We're looking through the bag and I'm like, yes, we're gonna watch it. So my brother, my sister, my dad, and myself sat down and watched Candyman. The movie ends. It's time for bed. My brother, my sister, and I are all in the same twin bed, huddled together, because that's how terrified we were. In the room I shared with my sister, we had a mirror that hung up on the back side of the door. My sister slept on the other side of the room, and I slept on the side near the mirror. We came up as kids with the logic that we didn't want to be on the other side of the room because that would give him too much leverage to come all the way across the room. We figured if we were by the door, by the mirror, we would have a better chance to run and get out the window. We watched the movie for 3 days. The 3 of us all slept in the same bed. And then eventually my brother and sister got over it. I did not. Part of The Black community is Candyman. It's a thing. For us, he's real. For like the longest time, I had a problem with mirrors. Even going into adulthood, I still had that little bit of fear. I had this fear like, oh, I'm saying his name and I don't want to say his name in my head because then, he might hear me or something like that. Fast forward, I'm an adult. I buy not only the first movie, but I also, by then I have now seen the sequel. I own both of them. My DVDs were always, those two DVDs were always turned backwards. The opening of the DVD faced you. You didn't know what those movies were. And if somebody asked, I would tell them, oh, you just got to look for yourself. And then they would look and be like, why do you have this turned around? And I'm like, why wouldn't you? I, to this day, will never say his name in a mirror. Don't play with fire. If you have a haunted mirror, why would you hang it up? Leave it alone. Leave it where it's at. If your friends are like, I dare you, no, go home. Or I'm going home. If we're at your house. Hey, we're about to play this game where it involves a mirror. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get my stuff and I'm going to leave. It's a defiance thing. You can't tell me what to do. I'm going to do it anyway. Or they are skeptical. They don't believe that whatever people are warning them about is going to happen. It's not real. It's not going to happen. And we all know what happens to people who are skeptical about things that could really happen. And they're like, oh, that won't happen to me. And then the next thing you know, dead. Except for when it comes to like Ouija boards and seances and things like that. Most of the time people just are grieving and they want to talk to their significant other or they want to talk to their loved ones. So they're trying to get answers, right? That's the reason why I think those people do those things. But the people that just be like, oh, you've been warned like a million times not to do what you're about to do and you're still gonna do it. Those are the skeptics. I've done Ouija boards before and I didn't get possessed. That one time that they do it and they do get possessed. We have people that will go, I stayed in this haunted hotel or I stayed in this abandoned hospital. You're just asking for a death wish at this point. I watch enough horror movies to know better. If they're like, oh, we're going to this cabin in the middle of the woods. How many other cabins are near it? None? Never mind. Like I need at least three. I need 3 other houses to be nearby. I really found my community on Threads. Somebody posted the horror community is one of the kindest communities. I was like, I wholeheartedly agree. Now, do we have our ones and twos? Yes, of course. Every community does. But the community as a whole has been so supportive of this page, of everything that I do. They watch my YouTube videos. They always comment. It's been nothing but love from them, especially the horror community podcasters as well too, because I've been invited. I've been invited onto multiple podcasts. I've had people on my podcast. I actually had one of my listeners do a top 5 with me. It was her first time being on a podcast, going to horror conventions and meeting other people in the horror community. I feel like if I was a part of the comic book community, I'd probably be screaming into the void right now. But the horror community, we gonna scream in the void together. Centers right now. I was dyeing my hair, and I turned on Centers, and it's just become second nature now. If I'm doing something, I throw on Centers. Before that, it was Return of the Living Dead. Before that, it was Child's Play. Candyman used to be my comfort movie for a little bit. The 2021 movie. I would throw that on and just kind of let it play while I cooked. But right now it's Centers. And I dyed my hair, washed it out, and the movie was ending. I sat under the hairdryer and restarted it. Demon Night is it for me. And not just because Billy Zane looks good in that movie. I've met Billy Zane twice now. So much fun. He's so funny. It's just one of those movies where you feel like you're one of the people fighting for your life with these demons outside. And the cinematography on that one, which is crazy because they filmed that movie inside of a hangar, like an airport hangar. And they went and got all this dirt and didn't know the dirt had manure in it. So it stank like I don't know what in there. I thought the demons stank. It was actually the ground. It was smelling funky. I love that movie because not just because, like I said, Billy Zane is cute in that movie. It's just the overall story of it. And I wish they had continued and gave us a sequel. Nostalgia is winning. I know what you did last summer. Scream. We've gotten so many nostalgic movies. Why not give us another Demon Knight? I think I want to be remembered as someone who truly cared about this genre and wanted to represent it correctly. Some people can try to spin horror into a negative, and it's because of voices like mine, voices like other horror movie podcast or horror podcasters. We put horror into the spaces of the next generation. We tell them like, hey, if you've never seen this, you definitely need to watch this. I want to be remembered as a quirky girl that geeks out when it's time for me to talk horror. Also for being kind to one another and you know, making people laugh through telling stories of how horror has been a part of my life since I was 5. I've seen where horror has helped people get into a better place. Or if they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling stressed, they don't feel like being a creative, you know, that day, they will go and watch a horror movie. And to me, I think horror helps because it gives us that getaway from what's outside our door. And so much is happening outside of our doors that just give me an hour and a half, 2 hours away from that. So I understand that it is some psycho killer running after some girl that tripped over a pile of leaves. But let me live in this moment just for a little bit.